Thanks for listening to Mike Douglas, Michigan's retirement coach.
All right, let's talk estate planning and let's ruffle some feathers because I don't know how well this will go over with a lot of people. According to Warren Buffett, we should have some communication. He, of course, 94 years old, still kicking, still investing, but sharing his thoughts on estate planning. His advice, and I quote, create a will and have your children read it before you even sign it. He says you must talk about your wishes before you die. If you want money to go to charity or to help one child more than another, it should not be a surprise after you die, which I do get. And the idea about talking to your kids, because there are some people that have unhealthy relationships with money. And so you got to be careful. You don't want to drag your kids, your adult children, your grandchildren into that drama. But when it comes to people that are private about what they have and they do want to keep it a secret, I mean, this is a complicated discussion, Mike. What are your thoughts here? Do you agree? Do you disagree? It's different for everybody, I guess.
I feel like, so I
long pause.
I don't like the thought that money is supposed to be private. And I know that's the way a lot of people have been taught or raised in the past.
Yeah.
But I believe that our job as parents or people is to make the next generation better than us. Mm-hmm. Right? Like if you're like, so, and people tell me this all the time, and I'm living it more as my kids have gotten older. I get more joy out of their success than I get out of my own success. And that's a very real thing that I'm experiencing and I'm really enjoying. Mm-hmm. And for my kids to be smarter at 14 about money than I was at 14 about money is a win. And I think my parents did a good job teaching me good principles.
Got it.
But the nature of compound interest is the same thing with compound knowledge. The more I teach my kids, then they can prepare their kids better. And so they will look at their kids, hopefully, and say, man, our kids are more prepared than my parents made me. And so that's kind of the whole idea of this compound knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so I do believe we should be educating kids more and more. And especially because in schools, they don't teach a lot of like deep level finance because there's just so much that kids have to learn.
If any at all.
Years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, they definitely don't learn how to balance checkbooks anymore because that's not even a thing.
Right.
But it's like they're not being educated on compound interest, on leveraging debt, on different cool things that you can do as a individual with money. Mm-hmm. And they're also not being taught how to pick stocks or how to build portfolios or how compound interest works in a 401k. There's all these really cool things. And as we start thinking about towards the end of our life or planning for the end of our life, to withhold information. Now, I'm separating out because there's always unique situations. Mm-hmm. You have a child who deals with substance abuse or bad decision-making, whatever else, and you say they don't get any money. Mm-hmm. I get it. Trust me. That's why we call them the knucklehead clauses and trusts. Mm-hmm. But my goal is to leave my kids better prepared than I was. And my parents' goal was the same, and I hope my kids are the same. So if you think about what Warren Buffett is saying is you want to walk through it with them so they understand how to deal with it because they've never dealt with it. They've never dealt with the death of a parent before.
Right.
And a lot of people have. Mm-hmm. So by the time you start thinking about your passing, you will have dealt with the death of your parents. So you're trying to help them deal with it during the hardest time of their life. How can I make sure that they make good decisions? And then talking through how things are going to be allocated. It can be a difficult decision or discussion to go through and say, you know what, this kid gets the house. And as a result, and I think it's a very logical thing, but you go through and say, this kid gets the house. As a result, they don't get any of the money. Mm-hmm. These people get the money because they didn't get the house. Mm-hmm. And this kid wants the classic car and therefore that pulls, but it's all just a equation, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And you just work through it. I've literally watched close families fall apart because the parents wouldn't discuss it. And they just were trying to people please. And then at passing, the kids fought. And so rather than the legacy of these wonderful family people, the last thing they did was leave their family to fight.
That's tough.
And that stinks. Yeah. And I've watched it with family members of ours who fought for 2 to 3 years over money that's not even life-changing money. Right. It was like $40,000.
Right.
And you cannot retire and quit your job because you inherited $40,000. But they stopped talking for 2 years over it. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And as a parent, like if I leave my kids some money and as a result of me not having a tough discussion and still parenting, right? Because yes, they're adults, but it's still your money. So you still can parent that money to them and educate them. If my kids start fighting and don't talk to each other because I didn't want to have a family meeting, that's on me. And so I think that we have to be willing to have those discussions. And I get it. People are uncomfortable with confrontation, but it doesn't have to be confrontation. But so I know like Warren Buffett in his situation, it's kind of unique that his kids are 71, 69, and 66. So his kids are old.
Right.
And these aren't, 30-year-olds.
And also Warren Buffett will and estate planning is very different than an estate and will that people around Michigan are going to be creating for themselves.
Right. If you do have a Warren Buffett size estate, give us a call at 616-512-2127. We'll help you.
Here to help.
Out.
Yeah.
For you. We're here for you guys. But the reality is, though, we want to encourage these family conversations. Yeah. We do them quite a bit with people to educate them to how to sustain wealth. There was a study done by a group called the Williams Group, and it's a pretty popular study, but it found that 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the next generation, and 90% lose it by the generation after that. And the significant overriding factor in all of it was the heirs' lack of education on finances and responsibility.
Got it.
The Vanderbilts went through that. The children of the Vanderbilts just blew through the money. Yeah, because they didn't have the driver education that Cornelius Vanderbilt had.
Yeah.
It's no different whether it's $1 million, $500,000, or $10 million.
Yep.
If you don't train someone on how to deal with money when they inherit it, they will wreck it most of the time.
Yep.
That's why lottery winners go broke. And so there is basically an element of a lottery winnings that happens when someone who's never saved this kind of money inherits $500,000. I promise you they'll do stuff with it that they shouldn't have because they've never been taught on how to use it to their advantage. These are the conversations we have to have. We have these events called legacy events, and it kind of skips a generation to a little bit, but the idea was for grandparents to educate grandkids.
Okay.
And so in that, the kids were always welcome, but we tried to go grandparent and grandkid as like a Saturday morning deal.
Yeah.
And we had them bring it in, and I had grandkids in the room that were anywhere from like 12 to 25.
Got it.
And we talked about what are the best apps to use for finance. And I brought up a compound interest calculator to show them if they save $200 a month for the rest of their lives, what it could do. It was a really fun event. And I had some clients, Randy in Virginia, they brought their young kids out and their grandkids out. They brought in the whole crew. It was about 20 of them in the room.
Nice.
And as we went through, they were able to open up these conversations about estate planning because I would start describing how estate plans work. And then now it was a gateway conversation for them to work it out. And now they feel great. Their kids are heavily involved in the planning of their stuff. So it's a great way to set that up. Estate planning is the bow on your financial plan. You work all these years, do all this savings, so one day you'll have the money. Every dollar that you have saved needs a plan on how to be spent, how to be used in your retirement, and then how to be passed. That is how you build a good plan. Sometimes the plan is that we go golfing, vacation, snowbirding, whatever it is, but whatever's left needs to be protected and educated. So that's how we can help build an estate plan, a financial plan, a tax plan, all of these things to make your money stay in the family as long as it possibly can. Give us a call, 616-512-2127, and we'll help you get started on protecting your financial legacy.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit michigansretirementcoach.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.